Naughty Dog developer Robert Morrison tweeted this the other day. Quote, "It's just a cash grab." Unquote. Actually, it's the most meticulously built and crafted project I've ever seen or been a part of in my entire career. The highest level of care and attention to detail possible. He is saying this in reference to the remake of the first Last of Us game. There have been a lot of mixed opinions surrounding this remake ever since it was announced around, I think, a month ago. People say it's a cash grab, it's unnecessary, it's overpriced. And to be honest, I'll give a little bit of credence to the people who are saying it's overpriced because the game is going to be $70 or $80 depending on which edition of the game you get. And considering that story-wise, it seems like the remake is not going to be any different whatsoever compared to the original. I say, at least for the standard edition, it should have been bumped down to probably $50. Because I'm pretty sure it's been confirmed that Ashley Johnson and Troy Baker, the voices of Joel and Ellie, the two main characters of this game, didn't record any lines for this remake, so they're probably just going to reuse the same voice lines from the original game. So if Naughty Dog were going to make any major changes to the story in this remake, I would think they would have the voices of the two main characters participate in it. And to the people who are saying this remake is unnecessary because the original game is not even 10 years old yet and still plays mostly fine, well, I half agree, half disagree. The original game came out on the PS3 in 2013 and got a remaster for the PS4 in 2014. Yeah, it is kinda soon to have a full-blown remake of the game, and I used to be in this very same camp. I used to say there is no need for a remake of the first game whatsoever, but after playing the first game and the second game back to back, holy shit, there were a myriad of conveniences added to the second game that the first game would benefit from. A jump button, a dodge button, the ability to craft silencers, the ability to crawl in tall grass and hide from enemies during combat. One time I played part 1 right after playing part 2, and Jesus Christ, I died so many fucking times getting ambushed by enemies because I thought I could press L1 to dodge their attacks. I got so used to the added mechanics in part 2 that it was kinda rough going back to part 1. This isn't to say part 1 is unplayable by today's standards by any means, but let's just say after playing part 1 right after playing part 2, I wasn't so against the idea of a remake. I love the idea of experiencing Part 1's amazing story with Part 2's amazing gameplay. And that's surely what Naughty Dog is doing, right? Because what would be the fucking point if they did nothing to update the gameplay, besides the prettier graphics? I'm fine with the story remaining unchanged. In fact, when I first heard news of this remake, I was kinda scared that they would fuck up the story in some way by adding some major unneeded changes to it. Because I'm used to how Capcom does it with Resident Evil remakes, where they're not just remakes, but complete reimaginings of the original game stories. And I'm fine with those because those are remakes of 20-year-old games, and, Resident Evil's never hailed for its amazing story in the first place. It's always been a goofy, cheesy, over-the-top franchise, and don't get me wrong, I love Resident Evil for all of those things. But The Last of Us is a pretty different franchise. It has a lot more emphasis on its more mature and serious story. So any major changes to it, at least in my book, could either make or break this remake, but thankfully, they're not going down that route. I'm willing to give this remake a chance, and I think all the people screaming cash grab need to calm down. All we got thus far is a teaser trailer, and the game comes out in early September, less than 2 months from now, so I'm sure more in-depth information about this remake is on the horizon. If we get gameplay footage before the remake comes out and it doesn't look all that different from the original's gameplay, then it's time to panic. That's when I'll say, yeah, this most likely is some massive cash grab that I probably won't fuck with, but until then, I remain with an open mind. As of right now, I'm looking forward to this remake, and I hope when it comes out, all of these concerns are squashed. I think there are some legitimate concerns surrounding this remake, but I think it is way too early to pull the "it's a cash grab" trigger. You can say it's still too early for a remake. You can say this game is overpriced, and I understand those viewpoints because I agree to an extent. But I think it's completely unfair to entirely dismiss this remake because we have not seen any fucking gameplay yet. For all we know, this remake will be incredibly worth it, completely blow the original out the water, and ends up being amazing. So can we just keep an open mind, please? Anyway, if Naughty Dog is going to continue to remake their older games, especially if this remake ends up being a huge success, can we also get an Uncharted 1 remake? The original Last of Us, yeah, can be a little rough to go back to, especially after playing the second game, but Uncharted 1, oh god. Oh god. If The Last of Us 1 is getting a remake, then Uncharted 1 definitely needs a remake. Oh god. Let's just say I didn't have the funnest time playing that game. But anyways, that's completely irrelevant to the topic of this video. That's all I have to say. Bye-bye.